Okay, so here, let me put on speaker view. So good evening, iGalen land. This is John Gluckman from Vancouver, BC, Canada. And welcome to all the guests from all over North America, Australia, Philippines, wherever you may be. This will be my last interview of various personalities and topics tonight. At the end of the call, we'll have a chance to introduce all my new co-hosts and kind of have an official transferring over. So stand by for that. But the topic tonight is how to best present iGalen, Emulan, Climax, the business opportunity to other health professionals, not necessarily medical doctors, but possibly medical doctors, chiropractors, naturopaths, massage therapists, anybody that's in the wellness industry doing any kind of healing, because it's a great opportunity to multiply your efforts. Because one clinic, as Dr. Pepperdine, Ron will know from years of being in the business, one clinic can multiply your efforts by many, many folds by having all the
John, we can't hear you now.
Your voice.
Something happened to your mic.
Thank you for that. Is that better?
Now you're loud and clear.
Okay, so as I was saying, obviously Dr. Pepperdine and Ron Borsma will be able to verify the multiplier effect if you become effective in presenting to other health professionals. So without taking away from their time, why don't we introduce the two doctors, Dr. Ken and Dr. Ron. Why don't you come out and have your discussion about what works, what doesn't work in presenting to other health professionals.
Ken, why don't you lead off? You're still busy working in the profession. I'm now retired, and then I'll fill in as I can.
Okay, Ron. We alluded to this in a prior call, and mainly we were talking about talking to physicians, which is the biggest challenge of all. By far not the only challenge, but physicians tend to be pretty full of their own knowledge. Sometimes, there's some really good ones. The first thing that occurred to me is before you go and see somebody, you should know a little bit about what they do. So do some research on that practitioner, know a little bit about it, know where the products fit into their practice. Of course, if you know them, that helps. Or if you know someone who knows them, that helps. If you know somebody who's taking the product who is a client or patient of theirs, that helps. Although do remember that there's a confidentiality issue for a lot of healthcare practitioners. What does their practice involve? And each practice, I've used this example before. There's that parable about three blind men feeling an elephant. And one blind man is feeling the ear and says, well, an elephant feels like a leaf. And another is feeling the leg and says, an elephant feels like a tree. The other's feeling the trunk and says, an elephant feels like a snake. Well, each of us in our own particular health professions have a focus. We're focused on a particular thing and have a different level and orientation of our education. I wrote down a little conversation. Yeah, it could be a joke about three doctors diagnosing a problem. Three doctors were trying to fix a patient. And I actually, so somebody comes in with leg pain and spasm. And I don't want to put ideas or thoughts or words in the mouths of other professions, but just as a sense of what goes on. If you're an MD, you're going to say, well, you need an anti-inflammatory and anti-spasmodic because you have inflammation and spasm in your leg. If you're a chiropractor, you're going to say, well, maybe you've got an imbalance in your spine and pelvis, and that's creating an imbalance in the leg, and the muscles are having trouble dealing with it, so you have pain and spasm. If you're a naturopath, you may say, well, perhaps you've got an electrolyte imbalance, Perhaps you have leaky gut syndrome, you've got other things going on, and that's where they're looking. If you're a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner, and Debbie, I'm going to botch this so you can laugh at me, you may say, well, you've got an overactive kidney meridian, right? Or something like that. And that's how you see it. If you're a physiotherapist, you're going to say, boy, that muscle's really tight. We need to stretch it and maybe do some IMS and some other things on it to loosen it up. So, and those are all legitimate approaches. They're just different ways of looking at the same problem. Do you have anything about that, Ron?
Well, I think you really nailed it. You know, knowing your audience was the key phrase that I heard you say. And if we do not really know who we're talking to, we're not going to get past the gatekeeper, really. And that's always been the big thing. And back in the day, I spent the 30 years prior to becoming a health professional in the field of architecture, knocking on doors, basically, looking for people who are going to expand their businesses. And the first thing you had to do is get past the gatekeeper. And they're going to do everything in the world to protect their boss from people stopping in, just stopping by. I got really, really good at it, to be honest with you. And it was really a smile right off the bat, not being pushy, but being persistent, coming back to let them really know that you care. If you're just trying to sell a product, so to speak, you're not really showing your genuine intent of helping mankind. And I think that's really the key thing that we're looking to do, especially with iGalen and the product line that we have.
I really like that, Ron, and I had written something similar down. I'm unlike yourself. I have to think about it and write a few things down because I just don't, you know, I'm not as advanced as you are.
Can
I
I?
don't mean age.
You mean old?
But what's your purpose for doing iGalen? My purpose is not to make money. Well, I mean, money's nice. Money's nice, but my purpose is to help people. My oath is to help people. And if I can understand how I can help people better, I'm going to try that. And most of these things I will try myself before I inflict it on my patients.
Can I throw something in here? Can I throw something in here? So many years in practice with a large practice and many people coming in and many patients having various products, whether it was Amway or New Skin or, you know, whatever it was back in the days. The person that's very excited about their new venture, when they think of the chiropractor or the doctor or whatever, to them, we're the best target. We're the best prospect that they can think of at the moment because they can see that many other customers come in, and if they establish us as a point of purchase or information, they will get additional BV or whatever PV in their business and all that. So you tend to get a lot of stuff. And the natural reaction of most people in practice when a patient starts coming on to them about a new product or you got to try this, doc, is they put their hands up, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because people essentially, they like to buy, but they don't like to be sold. So if I'm a doctor and you're coming at me and you're very enthusiastic about your new product, you got to remember that I've heard almost everything that you're going to tell me already from other people, and I have my own values, as the doctors have already said. And if you're going to get anywhere with me, you know, or other people like me, you've got to do a lot of, you have to do some questioning. Do you already, with the gatekeeper, as Ron said, you have to basically, before you hit the doctor up, you have to ask him, does your doctor already support people in their health by supplying various supplements? If you haven't got that, don't even go the rest of it. But if he does, you've got a real prospect. So when he recommends various products, does he do an in-depth history with his customers? Oh, he does. Okay, great. So it establishes for you kind of an entryway. One of the things on a prospecting, if you really want to build prospecting, try this one day. Call 10 or 20 chiropractic or naturopathic offices or whatever types of offices you're interested in. And without telling them who you are, tell them, I'm a new patient in the city looking for a good chiropractor. One of the requirements I have is that the doctor also recommends nutritional supplements. May I ask, does your doctor do that? If yes, there's your best prospect to go see. It's an easy question. You can go through 100 calls in a couple of hours, and you've narrowed down the yellow pages or the Google down to 10 offices that you're going to want to go to. And when you go, you have to have a real questioning attitude. You have to have some information to offer them. And almost every time you're going to need to leave something complimentary, a product for them to try and get a commitment that within 2 weeks you're going to come back and get an assessment. But don't try and just, if you're there for an appointment, just right away blab and vomit all over the doctor, because it's not going to work very well. Any thoughts on any of that?
Well, I think making an appointment is a real critical thing to be able to do, because if you're just going to stop in cold off the street, you're never going to get an appointment. I've tried that in a lot of different areas in life, and it doesn't work very well. So getting the appointment, but you made some very good points there, John, to really find out, are they the kind of doctor that is supporting their patients with nutritional supplements? If they're not, it's a total waste of time. And there's a lot of them, and I know a lot of chiropractors. They've got specific companies that they work with. Metagenics is one of them. Standard Process here in the States is another one. They're set on those. I mean, that's their baby. That's their love life. And, they may put up a little resistance to what you have. So it's really challenging, to be honest with you, in my opinion. I've done a lot of that kind of work, and it's a big, big challenge. So the more you know about that doctor, whether you know a patient of his that you can say, hey, I met one of your patients, he's really impressed with you, and I know that you carry nutritional supplements. Would you be interested in taking a look at something that may benefit your practice?
Can I add something to that? To take that one step further, in Alberta, naturopathic doctors can promote products, but not if they're MLM. So sometimes your first question is going to be, is this an MLM company? And so, when I'm asked that, I would say, well, it doesn't have to be. It can be just direct sales. You can just buy it wholesale, sell it retail like you would any other product. But if you're allowed to do the MLM side of it, you can leverage that by having your patients tell other people. So, sometimes they're going to just go like this if it's MLM. So, MLM is always got two sides. It can be earn an income from it, or it can just be buy wholesale, sell retail.
Yeah, there's a lot of states here in the United States also that have that same kind of regulation within that industry, and particularly chiropractic that I know of.
Yeah, I'm breaking law if I sign something. Well, I'm breaking the law. I'm breaking the regulations if I sign somebody up. It's a silly regulation. I happen to know as a personal friend, is the president of the Canadian Optometric Association. And he said they put up these rules, but in fact, they're almost impossible to enforce. But yet, that is a very, very easy way to turn somebody down. And that's simply to say, my profession doesn't allow me to do that. In fact, my medical doctor said that to me. I developed a filter, and had I known that I was going to be on calls like this 10 years ago, I would not have thrown the stack of stuff that had been brought into me. I saved it, and it was about 2 feet high, going back to cassette tapes and all kinds of glossy brochures and stuff. John will attest to this because I put him through this little song and dance, and if I can use a 4-letter word, I will proceed to say what I said to John. I said, give me the science, give me the research. I don't want to see glossy pictures of people with shiny teeth and big cars and nice houses. I don't want to hear how a tumor fell off somebody's arse in Topeka, Kansas. And I have a bullshit button that's very, very large. I hope that offends no one, but and if you're educated in healthcare, that's how I got through school, was looking for what was wrong with what somebody was telling me, if it didn't fit. And those of us that are into natural healing would like to think that we understand how the body works, how nature works on the body, and will this substance be compatible. I've turned many things down because I'll look at the ingredients, a very popular one, and when I finally got the ingredient list, I said I wouldn't eat that. And I wouldn't advise anybody to do that either. Yes, you may lose weight, but I don't think it's the right way to do it. So knowing that, you want to present them with the science, present them with the ingredients, present them what it claims to do, present them, if possible, with some evidence that it actually does that. And like John said, give them a sample to try, or give them something to put their hands on. I'm not ready to talk about it, but I just met a very, very highly placed person. I gave him a bottle of Climax, and we're in discussions right now about what can happen.
And may I ask, Ken, on this subject, we are saying to give the chiropractor, the doctor, this information. If we were with Climax, for example, with the kind of studies that Dr. Scolio has, how much is too much? You can't give too much to a doctor. So if I were to give you, come to your office and say, thank you, here, I put together this 20-page, you know, and you can have it, and I'll be back in 2 weeks, and really look forward to hearing what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I really like those abstracts that Debbie put out of Dr. Scolio's work. On the iGalen site, the facts, FAQs on Climax, I got lost in a lot of that stuff when I started reading the science.
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough to understand it.
Right.
But I know BS science, and that wasn't BS science.
No, it's not. That's why I brought up the question.
That's a good point. And, you know, you don't want to try to baffle them with bull. Well, I almost said another word. You don't want to baffle them with bull, and you don't want to. Personally, I've been to quite a number of multi-level presentations for different products. There's another product that's multi-level that I currently use myself. And I have an allergy to the hyper cartoonish presentation where everybody's jumping around and stuff like that. I love Jana dearly. Jana, if you're listening, you can kick me for that. But I want to know the details. I want to know the facts. I don't want to know how I'm going to get rich. Most qualified health practitioners, chiropractors, naturopaths, certainly MDs, are making a high 5- and 6-figure income. And you're coming in and saying, okay, we can have Tupperware parties, and we're going to get some people in, and we're going to sell them stuff, and you're going to get in here, you can learn the compensation plan. And they're going, I just want to go and play in my garden. I've worked all day long helping people. So respect that. Yeah. That's all I would say.
That's a very, very important point, Ken, because the money is a motivator if you're in a home-based business and you're not a professional like you or I was or whatever, and we had, you know, a reliable source of income coming in. There are, however, some entrepreneurial doctors, chiropractors, whatever, that see the residual nature of this and understand that in their practice, that could go away in a day if they get injured. So some astute professionals who've been around a little bit get it that, you know, sure, you have your, you know, your disability insurance and malpractice, all of that stuff. But God forbid something serious happens and your practice is over. You have no pension at all. And if you've built up, you know, a serious downline business in your network marketing, you do have some residuals to fall back on to, you know, have your retirement and leave a legacy for your family. So, you know, it takes a unique person to see that vision. Not all of them do, but obviously over the years, there have been a lot of very successful networkers that have come out of the professions.
And I think
if I could add too,
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Debbie.
Ken. Just another resource instead of handing people something to read when they've been, reading reports or whatever all day. The recorded interviews with the doctors are very good because they can listen to them, can pause them, they can go back, and anything that there's been just a general presentation or Q&A with specific issues with any of our doctors is a good resource as well with those links.
It's a good point, Debbie. And I think one of the things too that you really, I guess, getting to know that person. Some people love the detail. Others don't have the time. A lot of doctors are very, very busy. They want a snapshot picture of what you've got. If there's enough there to pique their interest to dive in deeper. And for me, and that sounds like Ken and John, we've kind of wanted to go into the detail. I want the detail. I've had a lot of people stop by my office with the latest, hottest product that's probably similar to what you have, Dr. Ron. But boy, this is, and then all the claims come out, all the pretty pictures and the glossy whatever. And I try to go to the website nowadays. Back when I was starting this, the internet was just coming on board, actually. So we didn't have the resources we have today. But I'll go and look at their website. First thing I said, what's your website? I want to go look at the ingredients in your product. Because like Ken said, if the ingredients don't match up with my philosophy, you're wasting your time. And there's a lot of websites with a lot of big companies that I have searched and searched and searched to find the ingredients in the product. They're not there to be found very easily. So what we have with iGalen, I think, is just a treasure trove of information, a treasure trove of the doctors. The calls that we have, I think, are phenomenal with Dr. Scuglio and Dr. Joe Ahrens and Dr. Rajan. I mean, we've got some great information. The website has got the frequently asked questions and answers for Clamex, I think, is just stellar pieces of information that if anybody's serious about wanting to help their client base, their patients, they're going to take a look at it. But you got to find out if they're the kind of person who digs in or just wants a snapshot. I will spend enormous amount of time. When I buy a car, I know more. When I bought my Volvo, I knew more about the Volvos than the Volvo dealer, than the Volvo salesman. When I go to buy a pair of shoes, and I love shoes because I cut my feet in the shoe industry when I was a kid, I want to know everything about how that shoe was made. So you're not going to pull any wool over my eyes. You're going to give me the facts and none of the BS. But you got to know who that person is. And if you don't, you're going to be very frustrated, and you're going to waste their time, and you're going to waste your time. So it's finding that balance. And I think that's the biggest challenge that we all face, really.
So Ron, as a follow-up question to that, one of the things that I did express this concern to Jana, because I'm an author, and so words are important to me. And when I look at those FAQs, I understand that they've been translated from Italian and probably were translated by people whose first language isn't English. But the part that concerned me, and so I'm just curious on your hit on this, is the part where he kind of got into the rant about people stealing or cheating in their description of their products. And so I've been very reluctant to share directly from the website. I've kind of cut and pasted the questions that avoid that piece. But I'm just, I'm curious, because if you're a real detail person, and I guess I am too, I don't like to admit it, but not to the extent of researching shoes. If they look good, feel good, I'm done. But that was one of my concerns about the FAQs and why I've been a little bit shy around them. So I'd be curious what either of you think on that.
Yeah, I think what I've done too is to take and cut and paste. And I think that's such a beautiful technique to be able to do is put in what you want, put it into a PDF format, which cannot be manipulated very easily unless somebody's got a PDF opener in their tool house. But that way you can really get their attention. And as they grow in the business, if they decide to come in, they can understand those things. But the initial presentation, yeah, you want it clean, you want it as technical as you can get it, but without the controversial stuff, I guess.
I didn't exactly care for that political part, but at the same time, I often go looking for I will research a product, and then I'll research that name of that product and put in scam, problems, whatever, and see if I can find bad things. There's something called confirmation bias. And that is when people simply look for everything that supports what they already believe. And there's a lot of confirmation bias goes on. So, and I think as a professional, we're obliged to look for the holes. One of the holes in those other products that always just snaps me off, and in stuff from the health food store, is proprietary blend. That means we're not telling you what's in it, right? And so I go, bull. If you got that product patented, and then that's exactly what Dr. Ahrens does. That's exactly what Dr. Scolio does. That's one thing that's won me over very large. And in fact, speaking about talking about other products, somebody questioned Dr. Ahrens about berberine. Berberine is a natural health product, a plant extract that has a positive study for diabetes. And his answer was absolutely perfect. He called it a polycyclic something, and it's from plants, but lots of toxins come from plants too. And you're using something, a plant drug. He's looking after a deficiency, and these other products are using a plant drug. And I was recently, there's a great nutritionist in Vancouver, and he sent me a thing on a new product on blood sugar, and what's the first ingredient is berberine. And I already had the answer. Dr. Ahrens, Dr. Scolio can empower us by telling us what are the problems with other products that are trying to baffle us with their BS.
Yeah, you can treat diseases with herbs and vitamins and not get at the real cause and the real deficiencies in our body. And that's where we really need to go.
And may I ask both of you as professionals, and even John, because in the Climax, we do have the 2 patented ingredients, and then we also have chocolate and vanilla and stevia. And I'm just curious, I mean, because it tastes great, and but I was just wondering if any of these other ingredients are flags for you, just as doctors.
The aluminum in the Amulin prior was not so much a flag for me because I know the sort of the safe dosage, but it is a flag for patients who are very health conscious. But nothing in Climax. There have been people talking about stevia. What was it? Stevia is harmful to men's reproductive systems, I think.
Really? A natural
talk about that. I researched that, and the best I could find is that it's a non-issue.
Jackie, you had a question you wanted to pose, I think, didn't you?
I just wanted to add to what Ron and Ken was talking about in regards to presenting it to the medical professionals. It's been since October with my specialists and my GP, and they've been taking the products, and just so that people are aware that it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's a lengthy process, and it's providing them with the information, which is what I gave them. But I went to my GP on Tuesday. I saw my specialists on Thursday. This is 5 months down the track. They're now at the stage of where they are happy to look at speaking to Dr. Rajan and Dr. Ahrens and Dr. Stefano if they're available. But what they did want was the blind trialed, the double-blinded trials. So I had to actually ask for those, because what my GP said to me as a medical professional, her license is at stake. So the first thing she said was that she had to actually get in contact with her legal team. She said, I can understand because I've been treating you for 20 plus years. So my foot in the door there was my own billboard of where my health was. But from their perspective, it's their medical license that is at risk. So they need to contact their medical powers to be in regards to where they stand legally. And even though I gave her all of the information to my specialists as well, it wasn't until I received the double blinded trials that they're now sitting and saying, okay, well then that's been proven by their peers. We can see that they've had all those tests done and they're ready to take that next step. But that's not open. You've got to make sure that you actually have qualified to be able to ask Dr. Arjun for those particular documents to be able to hand to those type of people too. So just to shorten it, it's not going to happen in 1 month. It may take 6 months. So you've got to have some patience and allow these people, as what Ron and Ken have said, and John, they have months, and they've got people that are just at them left, right and centre everywhere. So this has been a 5 month, 6 month journey, and we're still moving forward.
And it's not an unlevel playing field or a level playing field, because if you actually look into pharmaceutical research, you'll see that a great number of commonly used drugs are not double blinded. The statin drugs were not well tested on women. There's just all kinds of holes in that research, but because it's from a pharmaceutical company, the assumption is that it has been done, but a fraction of drugs have.
One thing too is that I might add, I have known people who were, really good reps for, network marketing companies that had, a good approach to the doctor or to the therapist, etc. And if that doctor or therapist was into education, where they were holding either weekly or bi-weekly evening classes about a topic, whether it was stress or whether it was nutrition or whether it was something else, they have volunteered, they have offered to come and conduct a class about their product and how it fit into the health portfolio or the health mix. And when you can do that and take the work away from the doctor and then have customers of his buy product where he makes some residuals or some profit, that might also be a very good entry point, is if you have somebody that's so inclined, that's an educator, and if you volunteer to come and do that and then advertise it obviously at the front desk with a handout, that might be a way to get into into that office, if you got that. I know that Ken, when he first got involved with this product, created a one piece about iGalen that was very, very effective, that sat on the front desk or the front counter as new patients would come in for their new visits or for subsequent visits, and the front desk receptionist would either hand that to them when they left or when they came in and say, hey, ask the doctor about this when you're in a consultation with him. You might find this is something you might find interesting. So having something that kind of opens the door to a conversation sitting on the front counter is also a good idea. Right, Ken?
I keep, and we've got it out in the front, the iGalen. I don't give that to every patient, because my duty is to that patient's problem, and I tell them you can have your treatment a la carte. We can talk about making you healthier. You came in, it's your money. I'm there to serve you. What is it that you want? Mm-hmm. Now, I will say, look at you have a lot of inflammation, and there are some really good protocols for inflammation. And there's a new product out that plays by a completely different set of rules that I have found just amazing. And I leave it at that. If they pick it up, and some you can tell, you can hear the click in their brain. They click off right away. I don't pursue it any further, because I'm not going to hitch my credibility to pursuing and we've all had that happen, right? I've spoken to people who have been so alienated by even friends and relatives that are doing MLMs that they don't want to visit them anymore. So you can't be on it all the time.
And being on the practitioner side, if you take a perspective from the practitioner side, you've now got a patient that's either sitting in the office, talking to the doctor, or else on a treatment table about to get an adjustment or a massage or a physiotherapy treatment or whatever. And the doctor standing up here, the patient is lower because it's on a table. right away an imbalance in power is established. And that imbalance in power prohibits the practitioner from trying to recruit or talk to the person unless he has received prior permission. That's the way doctors and therapists get taken in front of their boards for discipline, because patients complain that, hey, that doctor tried to, get me into a deal or whatever, and all I came in for was my therapy or my treatment. So you got to understand, from the practitioner's point of view, they don't ever want to be in that position where they're placed in this imbalanced power relationship where they can get a complaint filed with their boards and possibly be brought in front of a panel or something, and something worse, because I've seen that happen as well.
I make it a point to sit with a patient and discuss prior to treating them. And I don't sit across the desk, I sit beside.
Yeah.
And discuss what their problem is, how they're doing, whatever, and do that little bit of information. We get up, we treat them. There's very little discussion about anything else unless they're regular patients, and then we're talking about fishing or telling hopefully clean jokes,
Sure.
Things like that. And then I sit with them again after the treatment, and that's when I lay out their alternatives. But I don't pressure them.
Right. Right.
I'd like to make a comment too, and it maybe sound like a Debbie Downer, and I don't want it to be, but I think a lot of people, when they get into a business like network marketing, maybe for the first time, and it's a nutritional company like we have, they're thinking that the doctor is going to be the big fish, the plaque on the wall, and they're going to go in there with all guns blazing, and they're going to go to a lot of them, and they're going to die on the vine before they ever get started, because they're going to have a lot of disappointment. I would much, and I don't personally, I don't pursue healthcare practitioners as a rule. If I've got a connection with one, in fact, that's how I got into business. Dr. Jack Hurd is a chiropractor out in Campbell, Pennsylvania. I've known Jack for over 20 years through another company. And he called me up one day and he said, Ron, I've got something I'd like you to take a look at. And I said, Jack, to be honest with you, I'm working with a company right now I'm really, really pleased with. I'm really not looking for anything. He said, well, fine. I respect that. I would just like to send you a little video clip, and I'd like you to take a look as a friend. Would you do that for me? I said, I'd be happy to do that, Jack, because I know you, I trust you. So I took a look, and we got about halfway through the video, and I'm calling back on the line. Donna's saying, let's go. So that's a good approach to do it. But to go out there and try to think you're going to have great success on your first attempt to get a doctor in, you're going to sell tons of product and a lot of BV, you're up for a big, big disappointment. And I think it's going to be better to go out there and find your neighbor who's going to have a great response with the product. Let them be that mouthpiece to go talk to the people and build your business. I think you're going to have, from a business perspective, a much more successful and maybe even a more sustained business, in my opinion.
I have a very small downline, and I have introduced the product to 3 of my chiropractic friends. All 3 have ceased to use it, said, I took it for a while, it didn't seem to do anything. One of them has diabetes and all kinds of joint replacements and stuff like that, and I failed. But I'm not gonna waste our friendship. I'm gonna be there for him. Yeah. And there may be a time down the road. I was asked by, and I cannot remember the woman's name, someone on one of these calls, after one of these calls, to phone a chiropractor in a nearby town, and because she said that I was familiar with the product. I phoned that chiropractor and she would not return my calls. And if I see her at a conference, I'm going to tear a strip off her. That's not how you treat your peers. She's thinking she's all full of nutrition, and I've got about 20 years of practice on her. Mm-hmm. So you don't treat your peers that way.
Here's just a small comment from the perspective of a customer. Oftentimes, you're telling people about the ingredients, that they're natural, where they come from, and they'll still say, well, I'll take it to my doctor and I'll have him look at it and see what it says. And then, I'll say, well, do you eat healthy? Do you believe in eating a good diet? Well, yeah, of course. Well, do you take the ingredients of spinach to your doctor to make sure that's okay?
That's good.
Yeah.
And then they start to think, like, if you put it into perspective, just because the doctor says it's okay doesn't make it a good thing. They say all kinds of things are okay and give them out every day. I was a pharmacist for 21 years. I filled a lot of prescriptions that had a lot of negative side effects, but the doctor said it was okay. So doctor's word is not the be all, end all.
And they have only about 20 or 30 hours of nutrition.
Yeah.
If that.
Last I looked.
And on that point, we're going to terminate this discussion because we've had 40 minutes. A very, very interesting discussion I felt tonight. And this will be my my swan song. I have enjoyed for over a year conducting these interviews with doctors, with co-workers, with people who've succeeded, rubies, diamonds, etc. And you know, interesting topics as we've had with the two doctors, Ron and Ken over them. But my time's up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you know, you guys already know Ron and Ken, but I'm going to introduce 3 new co-hosts to this call, and they won't always be on the call. 3 or 4 or 5 of them will be on. So we'll have, there'll be more variety, there'll be more you know, topics, there'll be, you know, anything. So why don't we start off with Fawn, who's the newest member of the group. Fawn, why don't you come out and tell us a little bit about yourself in 2 or 3 minutes, and then we'll go to Jackie and Debbie, and if there's time, we'll go to Ron and Ken again.
Okay, thank you, John. I'm the freshest face. No, I'm in Central California, come from Silicon Valley, 30-year practice in the holistic wellness industry, and moved into the network marketing. I just want to say, for 20 years, I would not look at network marketing because of my reputation. I did not want to get it. Anyway, moving into network marketing, what I'm really passionate about is really bringing wellness to people, so they're, through education, making those wise choices of what they're putting in their bodies, as well as really building that kind of financial security and generosity that I believe most people are wanting. And that's what I'm passionate about. I'm honored and delighted to be in the collaboration of continuing in your big shoes, John. It takes 3 of us strong women here. And I love that we're all in 3 different countries, because to me, this call is the heart of the iGalen family. You know, it doesn't matter what team you're on or where you're at, you're always welcome here. And it's about education. It's about really deepening in our abilities to be empowered, to bring people into wellness and prosperity. So that's me.
Thank you, Fawn. Great to have you on board.
Thank you.
Jackie, not that we've never heard from you, but go ahead.
What are you trying to tell me, John?
I love you. You know that.
I think I'm Jackie Boyle anyway, for those that I haven't met or don't know me, and I am from Sydney, Australia. And I'm actually really quite honoured and very humbled to be able to be a part of this, because, as Fawn said, John has got very big shoes to fill, because he's really delivered for the past, oh my goodness, Vicky Jackson, very big shoes to be able to fill for us. But my passion comes from a health background all the way through, and it's really come from a personal point, because I've needed to search for something that's been able to fix myself primarily. So there's been a big interest there through from started in beauty therapy, massage therapy, aromatherapy, went into the fitness industry and rehabilitation, into the ambulance service as an honorary ambulance officer for 5 years. And I have a pathology degree as well. So it's always been a big passion to want to look at finding ways to help people. And everything that I've been involved with has been exactly that. I find iGalen as a big family, and I'm very blessed to be a part of that. And I've got some very phenomenal friends in amongst that. But my biggest drive behind this The money's wonderful, and the future prospects of that is wonderful, but my passion really is just to be able to share what we have here, because I've got my life back, and I hope we can share that with as many people as possible to at least let them have their symptoms lessened somewhat. So I'm looking forward to working with Ken and Ron and with Ford and Debbie. And hopefully you guys will bring in as many as possible as we try and fill John's big shoes. So from the heart, John, lots of love and respect for you. And I hope that you do venture back into us as well.
Thank you. And Debbie.
All right. Well, many of you have already heard my history, but I've been a holistic practitioner for going on 23 years. Before that, I was a pharmacist for 21. So I always say my husband said I went to the dark side, and I say, no, I went to the light. He's also a pharmacist, retired now. But I was just thinking back over the year, and it's been a very memorable year. I think, John, the first time, very new into the company. In fact, it was your birthday last year, was my first interview that you did, interviewing me for the weekly call. And so I've been here, with you from the beginning, both as my mentor and my teacher and, my partner in crime and in these calls and other things. And it's been life-changing for so many people. And if we just can keep bringing out that knowledge, and you've done such an excellent job. You're probably one of the best interviewers that I have ever come across. And because you bring value as well as bringing out the right, questions for the guest to answer. So that is a huge talent, and you do it so well and so effortlessly. Ken and Ron have been fantastic, and we certainly, along with them, the five of us should be able to do what you did. And, looking forward to bringing some really interesting, new guests, so it's not always up to Ron and Ken to fill the void. And we've got some really good things lined up. We're already, putting our heads together fairly regularly. And we want to continue to keep bringing value to this. And I just personally want to say thank you so much for everything, and just much gratitude to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. And Ron, do you want to go next?
Sure. I want to say thank you too, John. I don't know when I started watching these calls, being on the viewing side for most of last year, I think, and then probably sometime in the fall, got a request to be on. I think maybe Dr. Dave or somebody. I don't know how it all happened, but there I was, very pleased to be part of a team that's trying to bring the public something that's very desperately needed. And John, I want to echo what the ladies have said. You've been a perfectionist at getting the right questions, asked to get out the best answers from us all. And I appreciate you, because I've done that work. It's very difficult work to do. And you've done an immaculate job of it. I just thank you.
Thank you very much. Ken. You need to unmute. There you go.
May 11th, 2017, my 65th birthday, I was invited to lunch by John Gluckman.
It was your birthday.
It was my birthday,
Cool.
65th. And he had left a bottle of iGalen at my office. And that's when I gave him my filter. And he managed to get through it and sign me up. And for that, John, I'm eternally grateful, because my health is really, really improved. I had a ski racing injury in 1984, pretty big knee rebuild. And I was thinking I might be looking at a replacement knee joint. And now I'm not even thinking of it at all. I can ride my bicycle to work, and life is good. And now the hamster on my wheel there between my ears is going a mile a minute. But I do have one complaint, John, and that is that you've got me a whole bunch more work to do. And so my learning curve has been very high, and I'm grateful for that. And so we'll be in touch, because I'm going to be asking you for support, dude, because you signed me up.
Thank you, Ken. You're a good friend, and all of you on the call are good friends. So, I'm not ego driven. All of you know that, but I'm going to just pat myself on the back today for all the nice compliments I've gotten from you guys. So listen. So this is the call. It continues. I've handed it over to some really good people. I'm pleased with that. And all of you that are watching, please tell your friends that there's some new blood and some exciting new topics that are going to be discussed and examined. So just keep it up and keep it strong. And I'll look forward to seeing the recordings on the various Facebook group pages. And, have a fantastic rest of 2018. And I'll be, as I told the girls, I'll come on without without the video on and with my name hidden, and I'll be the little voice in the back. Yeah. So no, really, thank you so much all for coming on tonight. Let's open it up if anybody else wants to say something or ask any questions. Let's just do that for another few minutes.
John.
Yes, sir.
Brian here down on the East Coast. Thank you very much, buddy, for the last year.
Thank you, Brian.
Big time. Much appreciated.
My pleasure. Anybody else?
There's one thing that I missed. It was something that I was going to talk about. It's probably the wrong time to mention it. But at some point we should, and particularly with regard to professionals, the compensation plan isn't actually designed to help professionals be part of iGalen. And they could revisit it. There are other compensation plans that work a little better for professionals. I'm not complaining. It's just how it's set up.
Mm.
The best person to talk to about that would probably be Dory, who can then talk to Dr. Rajan and Costa, because Dory is a master at comp plans, and he can talk to Costa about that. Anything else, anybody?
Because I'm always the quiet one, I just want to wish everybody a really happy Easter.
Yeah.
So I hope that you all have a fabulous Easter and you have an enjoyable time with your family and friends and you stay safe.
What about Passover?
And Passover, I know. Look, I'm just going. I don't know what I'm going to do without looking at your face up in that top corner, John, because you really have a really deep spot in my heart. Like, you've done so much for me personally, and I can't even begin to tell you what you do mean. You make me teary.
Oh. There you go. Anybody else want to say anything or ask the doctors anything about approaching doctors?
Well, I'm going in to see my doctor, and he knows that I'm on this product. He's seen how the Emulan helped me, and then I went away for the winter, and I'm hoping to wait another couple weeks taking the Climax before I go and see him, so that I can tell him that it's improved. I do send him all the info. He does read it all. He's very open. So I had my foot. He's 20 years with me, so he's gone through a lot.
Excellent.
Thank you, John, for all your help.
Thanks, Sandy.
Well, I just wanted to say tonight's call was very useful for me. Thank you. I do have a acupuncturist on my team, and she's not she is definitely a caring, giving person, not very, very strong on the business side of it. And she told me that she did actually talk to someone at a conference she was at, and now she's like, you talk to them. So I said, oh, the timing of this call is perfect. So thank you.
I hope you got something out of it.
Yes.
It's very good.
I'm a note taker, so
you are. That's
people
right.
can rely on me for.
Okay. So you'll be publishing that for the rest of us to read. The nuggets were, I hope. Okay. Anybody else? All right, folks. It's coming on 6 o'clock on the West Coast. I bid you adieu, and we'll see you on the road to iGalen stardom.
Thanks, John.
Good night, guys. Thanks so much.
Thank you, John.
Else?
Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Fawn.
Yeah.
We sound like the Walton.
Yeah.
Good night, John boy.
Night, Mary Ellen.
All right. See you guys.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night, all. Where am I going?